Hi, and thanks for joining me. We live in challenging times here in our country, and I rarely ever speak about politics, and this particular anchor verse video is not going to be about politics, but I am going to use a political introduction to make a point that will tie directly to our anchor verse for today. You know, when we look at our government, we see the hostilities that are taking place on both sides of the aisle. And I don't know what side of the aisle you are on, and doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter which side I am on. What is important is to know that both sides have gone far beyond what we would consider to be just disagreement. They've gone from disagreement to absolute disdain for one another. There was a time in our country's history that people could have on both sides of the issue. They could have heated debates. They could have disagreement to the maximum. But after the debate was over in a congressional meeting, they could go out to lunch or dinner together and have fun. But not today. They don't want to have anything to do with one another. And the sad reality is that these are the kind of people that are leading our nation right now. And I want to read a passage to you that, again, is our anchor verse for verses for the day. It comes out of Mark chapter 3. And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem were saying, "He is possessed by Beelzebub, and he cast out demons by the ruler of the demons." And he called them to himself and began speaking to them in parables. This is Jesus speaking now. "How can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom is divided against itself, it cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand, but is finished." And that's good for us to know, that a house divided against itself can't stand. It's good for us to know because it serves as a warning. As we think about our own personal lives, our own relationships with others, if we want our families to stay together, if we want our relationships to stay strong, we can have our differences of opinion, but what we want to do is prayerfully and lovingly speak with one another and try to work out our differences. And if we can't work out our differences, then we simply give it over to the Lord and give each other over to the Lord for wisdom and guidance. But don't lose the relationship. Say, we just can't agree on this, but it doesn't mean that because I don't agree with you that I don't love you or that I have hatred in my heart for you. It seems as though we live in a world today that if people don't agree with us, they tend to hate us. And we think about our country far beyond our families and other relationships we might have. We think about our country and the division that we see taking place. And we should be reminded of what Jesus said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. What does that say about the future of our country?